President Putin's delivered earlier the annual State of the Nation address, highlighting the challenges facing Russia and the rest of the world. This is a bit of what he had to say about censorship, and just after that about enemies around the world.
We are against any monopoly. It doesn't matter if we're talking about someone's claims to exceptionalism or attempts to shape the rules of world trade in someone's favour. The same if we're talking about attempts to limit freedom of speech, to implement censorship in the global information space. We've often been accused of censorship in Russia, and now they're practicing it for themselves. We don't want confrontation with anybody. We just don't need it. Neither do our partners or the entire international community. Apart from some of our colleagues who see Russia as an enemy, we're not looking for enemies and have never been looking for them. We need friends, but we won't allow our interests to be restrained or neglected.
Well, that's the thought we'll pick up on now. We've got live to London. Veteran British politician and former London Mayor Ken Livingstone's with us. Ken, hi there. Thanks for your time. The main message is, I don't know if you just heard that clip there, in terms of foreign policy, was that Russia is against confrontation, isn't searching for enemies, but won't allow restriction of its interests. Is the West, do you think, willing to move more towards those goals and meet with Russia as we head into 2017 or not?
Well, I hope so. In the election of Trump, we're waiting to see what he actually delivers on this. What everyone in the West should know is that America spends 10 times as much on its military as Russia does, and China spends 3 times as much. So there's no indication there that Russia is preparing for some sort of armed confrontation. That's nonsense. But a lot of the right-wing media in the West like to demonise whoever the Russian leader has been. Throughout my lifetime, we've been lied about Russia all the time.
Let's talk about some of the other issues mentioned in a wide-ranging speech that went on for about an hour and a half earlier on here in central Moscow. President Putin also spoke about ensuring a level playing field in terms of media freedom. Last month, where you are, British MPs considered backing a think tank's report to actually expose individuals who appear on Russian media, like RT. What are they so worried about, do you think?
Well, I just find this bizarre. I've had right-wing columnists in our press say to me, why do you appear on RT? I said, well, I appear on the BBC, I appear on Murdoch's Sky programmes. I mean, I'm prepared to go on any programme as long as I'm free to say what I want. And I've always enjoyed the fact that, and I often watch RT when I'm at home, it gives a different perspective on the world. We can get the American perspective from British and American media, but it's good to balance that with the Russian perspective.
I mean, it seems President Putin's name in the headlines is getting more and more of a tried and trusted method to get more clicks online, get more sales. He seems to be blamed for everything from migration to Brexit. Why has Russia been turned into some sort of bogeyman like this? I suppose it helps sales. Just look at the front page of The Spectator, for instance, last month.
Yes, but we've had this all my life. I grew up in a world where we were told we were under threat from the Soviet Union. And I can remember the first American presidential election I remember was Kennedy v. Nixon. Kennedy won, saying we've allowed the Russians to overtake us. And as soon as he got into office, he was briefed, and Russia had 4 missiles capable of reaching America. America had 400 capable of reaching Russia. We are lied to all the time, not just about Russia, but about China. Anybody that is, not simply prepared to just roll over and do what's in America's corporate interests.
Well, let's bring it up to date with the forthcoming administration in the States. Putin said Russia's willing to work with the next US administration. He thought Donald Trump is going to take a more positive approach. What do you think the chances are of a successful reset this time round?
Well, I mean, what Trump has said is one thing, what actually he will deliver with his administration is another. And so far, many of his key appointments have been people on the far right, and now, corporate bankers and so on coming in. So it may be there won't be as dramatic a change as we were hoping for. But the simple fact is, if we wish to defeat fundamentalist terrorism in the Middle East, and that's a threat here in London, just as it is in Moscow and in New York, I mean, America and Russia and China have to work together to do that.
Ken Livingstone, former Mayor of London, thank you for your time being live with us on RT International. Always nice to see you. All right, well, let's go to central Moscow. Listening in earlier on, RT's Daniel Hawkins, he was across that speech. Hi, Dan. We just talked with Ken Livingstone about the foreign affairs part of it. He also had a fair bit to say about the economy within Russia as well. Take us through all that.
Yeah, there certainly was, Kevin, a whole variety of points covered in the 13th annual address by Vladimir Putin to the Federal Assembly. One of the main points about international politics was this urge to create a level playing field, a system of constructive international relations that was based on international respect, mutual trust, and mainly the rule of law. Mr. Putin said that Russia was ready to participate in the creation of this international system. He also mentioned a free media, touched upon that, of course. That's been in the headlines recently, that the accusations about the Russian media are evidence that there is still quite a long way to go until that level playing field where countries and actors are treated equally is created. Now, it's been a turbulent couple of years for Russia in terms of international relations as well, both with the US sanctions, the EU, Turkey indeed only just beginning to mend. Putin said that Russia didn't need enemies in this environment. He said that Russia wanted to build bridges both with its Western partners, the US and the EU, as well as countries of the BRICS, and also China, India and Japan. Putin, of course, going on a visit to Japan, to Tokyo, just in the next couple of weeks. Now, one of the main focuses, as you quite rightly said, was the economy, the domestic internal development, and that involved science, education, technology, the diversification of Russia's economy away from oil exports, from arms exports, into high-tech development, into agriculture and other spheres. He said it was important to invest into social development, into education and healthcare through a whole system of long-term projects to increase the quality of that in order to make the Russian economy, the Russian workforce, the population more competitive on the international market. He also made an interesting point, saying that the Russian economy had stalled and flatlined over the past 2 years or so, not so much because of external pressure from sanctions and low oil prices, but rather because of internal issues within the Russian economy. He said that the key to economic development, to economic growth, was strong investment to make the economy more competitive on that global scale. Let's take a look.
2 years ago, we faced serious economic challenges with negative conditions on the global market and sanctions which were imposed to make us play to their script. They tried to make us disregard our national interests. However, the main reasons for our economy's slowdown are our internal problems.
It was a whole range of issues, Kevin, covered by Mr. Putin, in quite a long address. It was about 1 hour and 20 minutes altogether, longer than the one last year, but certainly a message of positivity, both domestically in terms of issues within the country and also externally, building bridges and a hope for rapprochement in the coming year 2017. Back to you.
Daniel, thanks for the update. Yeah, we'll bring our viewers more perspective on it. We've got a lot more guests lined up throughout the day to hear their thoughts about what Putin had to say. For now, we'll let you go. Thank you.